The Empire's on the run. Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
You've heard about the essential qualities of iodine when it comes to your well-being, and you've read the opinions of top experts regarding this good member of the halogen family. Still, reports indicate that iodine is absent in sufficient amounts from the daily lives of countless people worldwide. Now, our extra-strength new nascent iodine formula is here, Survival Shield X2, leading the way into the next generation of super high-quality nascent iodine. InfoWars Life Survival Shield X2 is derived from 200+ million-year-old salt solutions found more than 7,000 feet below the Earth's surface. The result is a unique nascent iodine that is both concentrated and free of unwanted additives, genetically modified ingredients, and completely vegan. We even pre-screen our Survival Shield X2 iodine for radiation. Pure, clean, and sourced from deep within the Earth, X2 nascent iodine is available exclusively at InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com, or call 1-888-253-3139.
DNA Force.
When cells become toxic, they die early and aging sets in.
DNA Force.
No one has put together a formula that focuses directly on brain health, nerve growth factors, and optimizing your cellular energy at the same time. Just one of the key compounds, BioPQQ, is backed by major clinical studies.
DNA Force.
We now have the synergistic solution. Secure your DNA Force today at InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139.
DNA Force.
The government's Department of Homeland Security is buying up loads of ammo. At the same time, they're restricting civilians' rights to own and purchase firearms. Can you put two and two together? Infidel Body Armor can stop every round, including hollow points and .308 sniper rounds, is reasonably priced and fully legal. But for how long? Go to InfidelBodyArmor.com, spelled INFIDEL bodyarmor.com. Infidel Body Armor. Just won't quit.
Open your eyes. It's time to give your eyes a powerful nutritional boost. Sight is the primary input to the brain, arguably making eyesight the most important sense we have. And just like the other important organs in our bodies, our eyes function at peak levels when they are fed the proper amounts of essential nutrition. Open your eyes. Combining key ingredients like vitamin A, zinc, lutein, proprietary saffron bulb extracts, and more, OcuPower by InfoWars Life is a new formulation specifically designed to nutritionally assist the natural function of healthy eyes. Optimize the natural power of your eyes with the latest addition to the super high-quality InfoWars Life formulations, OcuPower. Go to InfoWarsLife.com or InfoWarsStore.com to order OcuPower or call 1-888-253-3139. OcuPower. Open your eyes.
Crashing through the lies and disinformation. It's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.
It's Paul Joseph Watson filling in for Alex Jones today on this Wednesday, October 1st, 2014 edition. Obviously, we're talking about Ebola. We're going to go to your calls shortly. But an interesting article popped up. Some information that's not been heard so far. Not confirmed, but interesting nonetheless, from a potential CDC source talking about the travel history of this Ebola victim. David Knight, you have the story.
Yes, this is from redstate.com. Eric Erickson is the person who runs that site. He's got a radio show in Atlanta where, of course, the CDC is headquartered. And he said during the break of his radio station, an individual called the program, said he worked for the CDC. He says that he vetted the individual, established his credibility and everything. The guy said that... gave him some information that was later confirmed in the press conference. He also said that the patient traveled from Brussels to Dulles, Virginia, and then on to Dallas, Texas. So he stopped over in Brussels and Dulles, Virginia before getting to Dallas from Liberia. He also says that the patient had come from a funeral in Liberia, and all this information was provided before the details came out in press conferences. Now, one of the interesting things that he says is that this person from the CDC told him that he went to the hospital with symptoms on the 24th, and they're saying in the press conferences that the first time he went to the hospital was the 26th, that he was starting to have symptoms at home, but waited for 2 days before he went to the hospital. They sent him home, and they came back another 2 days. So that stretches out the symptoms a little bit earlier, moves it a little bit more forward, if that's true. And he says he assumed that the guy was confused because the press conference said the 26th. So he texted the source, and the source came back and confirmed that, yes, he came in on the 20th and that he went to the emergency room with symptoms on the 24th. That would be very important, because I would imagine anybody that had gone to the emergency room at that hospital on the day in question would want to present themselves to have testing. So perhaps even somebody on the 24th might want to take that precaution. He said they discharged him with antibiotics, and he returned again days later with watery diarrhea and other symptoms. They tested him at that time for malaria and then Ebola, and then put him in isolation on the 28th. So that's the information we have from that source.
So obviously the suggestion there is that he didn't fly directly to Dallas. I think we should probably check the flights from Liberia to Dallas, if that is a direct flight. You're saying that
there are no direct flights from Liberia to Dallas. If I looked at several of them, and of course you get a wide range of ways that you can get here, depending on the airline that you go. Minimum, you're going to go for 22 hours and 2 stops. And you can go as much as 33 hours and 3 stops. And it depends. I mean, it can take you through Brussels, Paris, Atlanta, Philadelphia, Houston. There's a lot of different cities that these different flights stop by. And of course, merely the fact that somebody doesn't present any symptoms of fever when they're getting on the plane doesn't mean that these symptoms won't begin during a 33-hour journey. So that's quite a long period of time. One other thing that I thought was kind of interesting is one American doctor who's currently being treated for Ebola says that he believes that he got it because he operated on a patient with a cesarean section, giving her a cesarean section, and did not know that she had Ebola. And so the question is, if this is the way that they're going to diagnose it early on and start to question people is by fever, they didn't take her temperature. I mean, you know, whenever you go to the hospital, they're constantly taking your temperature. So they didn't notice in the hospital, according to this doctor who believes that he got it because he operated on somebody that, you know, they didn't know that she had any symptoms. So that's just amazing. It's another reason that they need to halt the flights. It's another reason they need to tell people, we're going to keep you in isolation for 21 days if you're going to come into America. That's the way you stop this. You do it one or both of those things, whatever you do, but it could be contained if they wanted to contain it.
Okay, we're going to go to your calls now. Juliano in Texas, go ahead. You're on the air.
Hey, how y'all doing, guys?
Good. What's your comment today?
The thing that I don't understand is why are they not warning the citizens of Dallas? It is a multicultural, so many people that are in and out of this little hub. It's easily going to spread. And they're just telling us, oh, don't worry. You're not going to catch it. Now, what are we supposed to do?
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that because top story on Drudge Report right now, red linked. Kids who had contact with Ebola patient monitored. This is out of the Associated Press. I believe out of the comments we just saw earlier from Texas Governor Rick Perry, who said a handful of school-aged children who had contact with a man diagnosed with Ebola are being monitored. So I mentioned briefly earlier the fact that some school children were being looked at. Perry says health officials learned Wednesday that the children have been identified as having contact with the man and are being monitored at home. The unidentified man has been in isolation at Texas Health Presbyterian Hospital since Sunday. The man is the first person to be diagnosed with Ebola in the U.S. So this is just the first example of other potential Ebola victims who may have been infected with the virus. Obviously, this guy was traveling around for at least 2 days, maybe even 4 days, in contact with the community and family members. David Knight, your take on that?
Well, that's just it. I mean, the Liberian community themselves are very concerned about this because they're in contact with friends and family living in Liberia, where this has been the worst pandemic. It's been worse even there than in Sierra Leone. And they're saying, we don't understand why they won't tell us who this guy is so that we can, anyone who's had contact with someone, with that particular person can go get tested. They want to know what the person's name is, who they've been in contact with. And they're telling people in the Liberian community to stay away from social gatherings. They're very concerned about that because they've seen how it's ravaged and completely shut down their country.
There's a headline up on Infowars.com. How bad could it get? U.S. government order of 160,000 hazmat suits gives a clue. That's out of Zero Hedge. Of course, we had that story recently out of the order that this company that creates the hazmat suits got from the Department of the State Department. Actually, it was that they'd ordered this huge amount of hazmat suits. And again, they've been preparing for this in some ways, but obviously not in the most important ways, as we saw at the Dallas hospital there. Phil in Florida, you're on the air. Go ahead, Phil.
Hey, good afternoon. Who's to say, first of all, that he was the person that brought it on the plane? He could have caught it from someone for 33 hours from someone on the plane, and they got the recirculating air going through the aircraft for 33 hours. You can infect 290, 300 people who are all on that plane.
Well, that's true. They're telling us that it's not airborne, but of course, if someone has it and they're sneezing or coughing, then that makes it airborne. The information that we reported earlier from the person who called into a radio show in Atlanta, Eric Erickson's radio show, had said that the patient had come from a funeral in Liberia, so that might indicate that he was the carrier. The key thing is that you isolate people before you put them in an closed area like an airplane, before you bring them to the country. It's a 21-day period. If we do it for dogs in the UK, we can do it for people who are coming from an area that's infected with this pandemic. It's not that difficult.
And of course, we had the story back on August 4th on Infowars.com. CDC concerned about airborne transmission of Ebola virus. Basically, from their own documents, interim guidance about Ebola virus infection for airline flight crews, they advised airline staff to provide surgical masks to potential Ebola victims in order to, quote, reduce the number of droplets expelled into the air by talking, sneezing, or coughing. The CDC also directs airline cleaning personnel to, quote, not use compressed air, which might spread infectious material through the air. So this was 2 months ago almost that they were directing airline flight crews to take precautions with flights, potential that Ebola could spread at least to a limited extent through sneezing and coughing. David Knight.
You know, Paul, I think back when HIV first appeared, and people really didn't know, could this be transmitted by mosquito biting somebody and then biting someone else? When you have a situation like this and you don't really truly understand all the modes of transmission, and I would suggest that they truly don't understand all the modes of transmission, or you wouldn't have 200 nurses and doctors who have died in country. I mean, are they just overworked and tired, making careless mistakes? Are they being cavalier about the protocols, or are there methods and modes of transmission that they don't fully understand? You have to err on the side of caution. That's why we say they ought to stop flights in. They ought to allow, if they're going to have somebody come into the country, they need to be quarantined for 21 days.
Kelly in Texas, you're on the air. Go ahead, Kelly.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. God bless you both. Hey, typically this patient that went to the hospital and then he was turned away, is it not common? I think it's typically they send you to a pharmacy to get your meds and not give them to you there at the hospital since they send them away. And also the second person, if it was a family member, did they not go to a store or somewhere to get this person food or stuff for comfort and liquids? And wasn't there a story out that they proven that Ebola was airborne between piglets and monkeys? And they ended up having to slaughter all of them because of that?
That's right. That was a 2012 Canadian study. They basically took pigs, put them in a pen with monkeys separated only by a wire fence, pigs infected with the Ebola virus. And the monkeys caught the virus via airborne transmission via the respiratory system, and they died, basically. So they proved that, at least to a limited extent, Ebola had gone airborne back in 2012. The Associated Press is reporting that 16 to 18 people are now being monitored as having potentially been exposed to this Ebola virus there in Texas. So as he said, This individual could have gone to the pharmacy to get his antibiotics. He could have gone to the store, and then these 16 to 18 other people could have interacted, with their family members, with their friends, with their relatives. So this is obviously of concern. But thanks for the call. We're going to Joshua in Texas. Joshua, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Actually, first I'd like to say thanks for taking my call. I got in pretty quick. I did what you guys suggested, and I did call